This is Karba, and on behalf of ERC, let me welcome you all to this brief IELTS workshop. Before going deep into the details, let me have a brief look to what ERC is all about. ERC aims to equip the education sector of Pakistan with latest e-learning tools and resources. And we are providing a 360-degree marketing support, which is helping the educational institutions to grow at unprecedented times. The projects that we have under ERC are Valeem, VLearn, and Valeem Securing Future. So with the Valeem, we are connecting the teachers and the students. Here we have specialized counseling services, whereas the VLearn system is a more automatic sort of system where we are connecting the teachers with the students, and we are trying and we are on a mission to improve the lives by connecting the learners with the best knowledge experts by removing the barriers of location, time, and distance. At Valeem Securing Futures, we are mainly dealing with providing scholarships to the deserving candidates. Now, as far as the today's session is concerned, so the agenda is basically we'll be looking into detail what is IELTS is all about. And we'll be having a look to the top IELTS tip that can be used to prepare all the 4 IELTS section, that is reading, writing, listening, and speaking. As we all know that IELTS is very technical, so we'll be discussing the technical aspects, and we'll try to develop an insight of the common mistakes that can be avoided in order to score good. As far as the trainer of today's session is concerned, we have Sir Zeeshan with us, who is a professional communication and soft skill trainer. He assists individuals to develop interpersonal as well as intrapersonal skills to help them out in order to grow personally as well as professionally. Sir Zeeshan trains, counsels, and helps individuals in effective communication. He is experienced and he's a certified trainer from British Council as well. The domains he particularly deals are like the workplace communication, where the levels he is dealing are from elementary to advanced. Apart from that, he is working on the art of confident speaking, the art of articulate speech, the art of public speaking, and storytelling, influencing, and developing the magnetic presence. Last but not the least, he is, of course, a certified IELTS trainer, and he has a proven record of students getting high grades. So, yes, Sir Zeeshan, are you there?
Yes, Ms. Carbo, thank you very much for a nice introduction. I'm overwhelmed. I'm just learning as everybody else is. So, should I take over?
Sure, over to you, sir, now.
All right. So those who are present, keep on joining there, I'm going to begin this particular session I'm going to break it down. Everybody knows a little bit about what IELTS is. So I'm going to answer this question, break it down into each module, and then taking forward, as the topic suggests, what are they looking for in that particular test? So I'm going to be hitting something around grammar, vocabulary side, other than alongside with the approach, time management, and so on. So IELTS is International English Language Testing System. Basically, it's based on a criteria which is CEFR. CEFR is Common European Framework Reference for Language. Do not get bogged down with these all big names. It's like, consider this metaphor. You're building a house, you're constructing one, and you need a base ground. Right? In order for you to create the foundation or construct a foundation, you need to dig deep down, right? So CFR is that, right? On top of it, one of the pillars of that foundation is IELTS, and the others are CLB, that is Canadian Language Benchmark, Pearson, English Test, CAE, Canadian Advanced English. So the base ground, the foundation has been set by intellectuals, by PhDs, by professors who have been working to improve the language, or who have been there who have studied the language and the linguistic of English. And based on that criteria, these tests have evolved. IELTS has been there for about more than 2.5 decades. Earlier, there was a big competition of TOEFL, which is American, and TOEFL has subsided or minimized to a greater degree, whereas IELTS, on the other hand, has taken over the world. You want to migrate, you need to do IELTS. You want to study abroad, you need to do IELTS. You want to study law in Pakistan, you need to do IELTS. You want to apply for a job in Dubai, you need to do IELTS or TOEFL, right? Even bigger corporations over here, multinational or national corporations, you want to apply for a job in Pakistan, I know a couple of companies who actually asks for your IELTS score, or at least they will take a test which is similar to IELTS. So you could clearly understand its significance and why it is important, because it actually gauges as an individual, whether you're a student or an immigrant, it gauges your actual language proficiency level on all 4 criteria or 4 modules. Somebody is very good in English, he can speak fluently, he has a very nice rhythm, but his reading score is less. So collectively, his band score will be affected. So what they check there are 4 criteria which are already there. That is listening, reading, writing, and speaking. So these 3, listening, reading, and writing, are combined together. Not combined together, but they're taken together. So the test hour is somewhere around, let me just give you a good recall. For CIEs, those who are actually appearing in or appeared in O levels, let's say you're appearing in an English paper 1 and paper 2 O levels, that's somewhere around closer to 2-3 hours, right? 1 hour 30 minutes and 1 hour 45 minutes. So that's 2 hours 45 minutes. Let's say you're sitting there appearing the paper, both of them together. So that type of amount of time you would be spending in listening, reading, and writing. Listening is basically 40 minutes, and I'm not going to go into breakdown. I'm sure you already know about this. Reading is 60 minutes, and then writing is 60 minutes. Speaking is 11 to 15 or 11 to 14 minutes also. Each reading, listening, and reading has 40 questions. They're further categorized into a specific category, which I'm going to open up just now. But before I go at it, let me just clarify a couple of misconceptions over here. People think, I was speaking to some HR manager, I'm not going to name it. So, and he said that, there are a couple of students or colleagues who walked up to them and said, you know what, IELTS is if you know the tips and tricks, you can get your score. And I kept listening to him silently, and I said, you know what, can you get an 8,777? If you know this number, you know what I'm talking about. It's basically used for Canadian immigration mostly, and Australian immigration is 777, or UK immigration is 777, right? So he was like, oh, well, yeah, but the tips and tricks, of course, you can do it. And my response was, you can only, and you need to listen to this carefully, you can only score the tips and tricks a 0.5 increment. Max 0.1 or band 1 increment, and that's it, nothing else. Let's say your English level in listening, for example, is 5 band. With tips and tricks, you can score a 5.5, or if you really want to stretch it and work hard and manage everything all together, that's a 6 that you're scoring and nothing else. Similarly, it's the same goes with your reading, same goes with your writing, same goes with your speaking. I haven't even touched what they check, what criteria do they have to check your language proficiency. I'm just telling you the tips and tricks does this to you. Okay. Now, what you do? What is the hidden gem of practicing IELTS or any test for that matter? Whether you're appearing in GRE, SAT, GMAT, IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo, there is this another test. There is this ITAP, there is another test. So, or CAE, this is Cambridge Advantage. Whatever test that you're appearing, if you practice with consistency, there is nobody on this barrier that can stop you from improving your language, your mathematics, whatever the subject line or subject matter that you practice, so on and so forth. It goes without saying that practice will get you the result that you need. But the question is that, is it the right type of practice? I'll get back to that later. Now, moving forward, let's just break it down. What do they see? I'm sure everybody knows task response, coherence and cohesion, lexical resources, grammar, range, and accuracy. And these are the 4 criteria for listening, and then similarly for reading, they'll check it in the other way around, and listen, and for listening as well, it's the same. Let me just break out certain elements, and I'll try to make it as simplified as possible so that you can understand what I'm trying to say. Everybody knows, there is a saying, those who know, they do, and those who understand, they teach. If I throw out a question to you, or an MCQ question, in which you get to identify what are the parts of speech, in particular X, Y, Z sentences, you'd probably spot, say, if there are 10 sentences, you'd probably spot 5 correct or 6 correct, or depending on your understanding level, right? In listening and in writing, there are certain criteria they follow, and the test is being made to check certain parts of the grammar and the structure. Vocabulary setting aside vocabulary itself. Some parts of the test are going to test you how well you distinguish a part of speech from another. How well you understand a noun phrase, noun, from a verb phrase or verb, or from an adjective phrase or adjective, or a preposition phrase. Okay. Some parts of the test will test you not for your accent. There is a big misconception that, oh, the accent is too difficult. It's not difficult. You won't find an American accent, which people think it's easy. It might be, but there are British, South African, Australian, and along those lines kind of accents, the European side of accents rather than the American side of accents. Let's face it, Cambridge is European-based system and European-based language, and Cambridge itself is in UK, so the lineage goes from there. Right? Now, moving back to my own question again, the accent itself, it does not matter. Accent is very clear. For those who are actually thinking, no, it's very difficult, it's basically an excuse. And I can prove it to you once you're there in my class. So it's actually an excuse. With that particular activity which I do in class, every single one of the students, everyone actually, they just walk up to me and says, I was not even paying attention to the accent because the activity was so intense. So your accent problem is resolved with that. It's not a problem, it's an excuse, by the way. Now, moving forward, once this is being neutralized, once a set of part of speech is being neutralized, now your ability to listen clearly comes to play. I'm talking about the listening part only. How are you going to listen clearly when we normally have a very short time span of concentration or focus? A student may have 20 minutes, A professional may have less than 20 minutes, and a teenager has a time span or a focus span of somewhere less than 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, he'll go like fiddling around with his cell phone, ears listening, and he or she thinks that he's multitasking, which is actually not. But then that's how the world goes. This is how we socially interact. And I believe I can tell that a lot of people might be fiddling around with their phones while listening to this particular live stream on Facebook. So if you're attentive now, that means I've got your attention. Let's move forward. They're not only checking your grammar, but they're actually checking your understanding of the tone as well. Now you might be wondering, what do you mean by tone? It's like, with this particular, I was very reluctant. Should I go for a live Facebook session, or shouldn't I go for it? Well, I thought that I should do it. In this particular strain of thoughts that was there were lots of ifs and buts that were going on, right? And my tone was actually reflecting a certain decision which I was about to make. Well, I was skeptical whether I was agreeing to it or whether I was disagreeing to it. And in that short period of dialogue with myself has had a lot of expressions. Just give me a moment, please. Miss Karba?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, your mic was on.
I'm so sorry for that.
No, it's okay. So they check for your tone as well, right? And on top of it, how well you can stay focused, like the way I've just described, how well you can stay focused on a particular listening activity, and how longer can you sustain it. That's just the practicality of it. Now moving towards the grammar side. I've already told you it's parts of speech. I've already told you that it's tonality that we look for. I've already told you that the accent is redundant. It plays a part, but that's not too much. The other thing is your ability to distinguish between two structures. Structure, what I mean, is the same as it relates to grammar. If your ability to distinguish between two structures and identify the right one. This type of question you will confront it in reading, but in reading it's more comprehensive than it comes to in listening. As you could see that this is a monologue. You want to know what monologue is? A monologue is when everybody is listening and one person is speaking. Best example, this particular live stream. Another example is when you're in the classroom and the professor is speaking out loud. When you're in a meeting room and somebody is taking charge and speaking or presenting or delivering its speech or discussing on the agenda. That's a monologue. And in that monologue, how focused are you to listen for the information which is given in the question sheet? And that information is not only concrete, it's variable. What I mean by variable is sometimes they will ask you for an X part of speech, and sometimes they will ask you to look for a Y part of speech. Sometimes they will ask you to look for an infinitive or a gerund or something like that. And you just need to listen it carefully and then answer no. Oh yes, one more thing. When you attempt IELTS, people think, first I'll listen to the audio and then I'll attempt it and then I'll put the whole answers down. That's what geniuses do. And then let's admit there are not many in the world. So I would encourage you to do it simultaneously. As the audio runs or the speaker speaks, you fill up the answers and match the audio as it progresses and hints you towards each question. So this is a very good tip that I'm giving it to you right now. It's very plain, simple, but yet very effective. I've had a student, I'm going to share it to you, not now, but once I'm done with the writing part. I've had a student given an IELTS test day before yesterday, and he gave me a snapshot of what the other students or the other candidates or the candidates were doing in the examination hall and what he was doing. And I'll just share it to you. Just hold on. Now, moving towards reading, now it gets much more interesting. I'll tell you why we don't read, and that's what it gets interesting. Because when we don't read, it's very difficult for us to find out the answers. And even if we do read, we read it in a certain pattern, in a certain way, which is not acceptable, or should I say, which is not appreciated by the exam, by the IELTS reading exam, whoever has designed it. The way we read and the way they want you to read are different. So we read it in an A pattern, and the examiner wants you to read it in a B pattern, and that is where you can get the highest score. By reading a kind of pattern, you might not get much out of it in a reading IELTS reading test that is for 60 minutes. Whether you're appearing in an academic or general, let me just bifurcate both of them right now. In academic, there are 3 academic passages. One of each will have 11 to 13 questions, summarizing 40 questions that you need to answer in 60 minutes. The intensity of each passage increases. So the passage 1 will be easy, passage 2 will be average, and passage 3 you will be biting your nails and scratching your head, probably pulling your hair as well. But that's the hard part. Again, we are not even talking about it right now. I'm just giving you a snapshot. When it comes to general reading test, there are 3 sections. Now pay attention. I'm going to repeat it and I'm going to slow down so that you can understand. There are 3 sections. In each section, there are 2 passages. Right? So section 1 has 2 passages. Section 2 has 2 passages. So that makes 2 sections, 4 passages. Make sense? Okay. So we have 4 passages, 1 passage section 1, 1 passage section 2, and the last one, that is section 3, will have only 1 passage. So that makes overall 5 passages that you'll be attempting. You'll be surprised the number of words that you will be reading in that 60 minutes, whether it's academics or general, is around 3,000 words. It's not much, but for those who are not in the habit of reading, it's going to be a very big challenge for them. And I actually give them a very nice, should I say, medicine to how to start reading in a much more comfortable way, rather than losing their focus and closing the books and saying, I'm not doing it because I'm just listening to the lecture. So in the class, they do it then and there, and then they progress forward. Now, with this, I've already defined what academic style of passages are, and I've already identified what general style of passages are. You'd be surprised, but they're actually looking for the same kind of information. They're looking for how well you understand each topic, each passage, each paragraph clearly. Let's just say essay has, I'm bringing an essay, but then it works 100% with your passage. We have been taught that essay has 3 parts. One is introduction, another is body, and the last is conclusion or summary. Every passage has the same. Has an introduction, has a number of bodies, 4, 5, 7, 8 paragraphs, and 1 conclusion. Make sense? Now the light bulb is there. So in each passage, there are a set of blocks. In each paragraph, there are blocks built on each other or resting on each other. Let's say this. this sentence is resting on this sentence is resting on this sentence is resting on this sentence, and that makes a whole paragraph. So if you understand the structure of each sentences and what they mean, your comprehension will become much more easier. You will not wait for the information, you will look for the information. And that is the should I say skill? Yes, that is the skill that you will learn in the classes. Again, looking for information is better than waiting for the information to come to you. Now, what are you looking for? Anyone, if you can use your comment box, can you tell me what is the difference between an opinion and a fact? I don't want examples. I would like you to give me your definition. I know earth is round. I know a leaf is green, most of it. I know the red color is red. Right? I know this is Facebook live session. And you all know it. You all know it too, right? So anyone, whoever wants to add a comment, what is the difference between an opinion and a fact? If you know the difference, then what is happening is, just give me a moment. Somebody said opinion, a fact is a reality, an opinion is a viewpoint. To some extent, yes. But you remember the stack of paragraph, the stack of sentences that comprises a paragraph has an opinion and has certain facts. All you need to do is look for them in the right manner. What makes a sentence an opinionated sentence and what makes a sentence a factual sentence is what you're going to learn in the IELTS preparatory program or a training program or a session, whatever you can call it. So you would be having the beaks, or should I say the eyesight of a hawk rather than an eyesight of a bird. What's that animal which has very low vision? Anyways, so this is something that you'd be looking at. Now moving forward, and these are the questions in which majority of the students struggle or they face challenge in, such as true, false, not given, or yes, no, not given. Another is identifying and giving matching headings. That's a different type of a question. That's a bigger challenge, in which they have X number of set of headings and they have X number of paragraphs, and all you need to do is match the heading or give the heading to the paragraph. Let me just give you a good recall. I'm sure everybody has attempted Islamiyat as a paper, civil science as a paper, social studies as a paper, right? And those who are in university, psychology, or any subjective subject as a paper, right? Psychology, sociology, management, marketing. There are other subjects as well, civic science, social sciences, whatever. Whenever you're asked to attempt that paper, what do you do first? You write the heading, give the definition of that heading, and then you give an example, and then you just let it go, and then you move towards the next heading. Plain and simple, right? If you're formulating the paragraph this way or the answer this way, the paragraph is actually formulated in the same manner. The trick is, or that's not a trick, I'm not saying it's a trick. They're far much more well versed with the language. The language that they use is of a C2 level, that is a band 9 level, right? So that's why it's challenging. If it was a band 6 level kind of a language that is used, everyone would have been scoring a band 9. But a band 9 level of vocabulary, a band 9 level of writing, a band 9 level of reading passage would be there That's why it's challenging for every other student, wherever their level of English is, whether it's at band 4, 5, 6, 7, or even 8. You may get lucky to get a 9 as well. So that's the text that you need to get yourself, that you're challenged with. The pattern remains the same, like the way you have attempted the paper of any of sociology, psychology, marketing, management, social sciences, Islamia, you name it. And in that, when you're writing a definition, it's a fact because it's known to everybody. And then in that, you're quoting an example and concluding this is why this happens. So you're actually giving your own opinion, which is believed to be true, not known to be true. So you're actually looking for facts and opinions when when the question type comes in as yes, no, not given, or true, false, not given. Again, matching headings, I've already given you a hint. Maybe if you're smart enough, you can understand how you can match the heading if you can understand the paragraph. There are lots of questions that would be there. For example, oh, it's very difficult. I just cannot understand it. They're doing X with Y and they're talking about something else and they're not talking about that. Once you are there in the reading exam, you'll have no worries about how to have a particular approach to get the accurate answer. These I call them approaches, not tips and tricks. Tips and tricks is something else. Once that is done, the MCQs is a challenge. Fill in the gaps are fairly easy. And of course, a process. So there are 3 or 4 thought processes that we are not aware of that they check you for. And those thought processes, I will expose them in the class, in which that will also improve your understanding of how you can transpire and idealize and plan and deliver your speech or write or in your writing. And it will actually give you a really nice structure on what to use and when to use it and how to use it. And they're going to learn, and everybody is going to learn on this. These all 4 structures. It's pretty plain and simple. All you need, and this is actually, these structures are actually integrated towards your writing. So if you can understand how a paragraph is formed, you can form the same paragraph or a similar paragraph when it comes to your writing task 2 or task 1 for that matter. Let's move towards writing. We are moving towards the conclusion of this particular seminar or webinar. Writing is of 60 marks. In academic and in general, there is a slight difference. In task 1, academics is being exposed to you as charts, data, figures, matching picture 1 with picture 2, the differences and the similarities that they want to look for. And in that, you're not supposed to give your own opinion. You just need to see and write it down in a much more logical, much more understandable manner rather than logical. So there has to be a point that you need to pick it up, whether it's the highest or the lowest, and then match every other detail, not every detail, but then every other detail, prominent detail, with the highest and the lowest point, and just transfer and just write it down in a logical manner. That's task 1 for academics. Task 2 for general is a letter. The only thing that you need to be looking forward to is the degree of formality that you need to address it with. It could be formal, it could be semi-formal, it could be informal, it could be casual. So there's no fourth to it. So there are 4 categories. All you need to do is determine what to do what to use in what type of sentences, in what type of letter or letter topic, that I'd say. Let me just quote you an example. You're writing a letter to your boss asking him for a raise. It's pretty obvious it's going to be formal. You're writing to a manager of a restaurant who you visit, which you visit, let's say, every or bi-weekly, and you wanted him to arrange a party or small party for your whole family members, a birthday party, because you like the restaurant. So is it going to be formal? It's going to be a semi-formal kind of thing because you're well versed with the manager. You've been visiting it for about every twice in every month, and that's how it is. You're writing a letter to your friend. So it's not going to be semi-formal, it's not going to be formal, it's going to be casual, plain and simple. You're going to be using a little contractions here and there, and you'll be a little comfortable and casual with the conversation and the letter that is there. And it's just 20 minutes of the letter. And the good part is everything is there in the question if you can look at it clearly. So you don't need to plan much. Now, when it comes to writing task 2, that's a big challenge. 6.5 is an easy number to get, whereas 7.5 is a bigger challenge. And you want to know why? Because, again, we don't read and we don't write. We run away from both the things which are actually helping us to improve, not only as a person, but as a human being, and how should I put it? It actually develops your personality in such a manner that you stand out. A reader, I can spot a reader in a class and immediately ask, what book are you reading? And I'm never wrong. He will always give me a title. It's the same, so you can, again, that's 1 in a million, or should I say 1 in 20 in a class, for example. Again, those who read, they write. And writing is very healthy exercise. Even if you write 1 line, 1 paragraph, 1 sentence, 2 sentences, the whole page, whatever. Writing helps you clear your mind and gives you a lot to think about and gives you a lot of directions to set a particular goal or goals, whatever it is. Now, getting back to task number 2. Task number 2 is basically an argumentative essay. There is nothing else to it. In an argumentative essay, there are a couple of types, but then argumentative essay is the only one that they will ask you for. And it's based on social situations. It's based on general questions. They're pretty simple. You're walking and talking, and everybody knows about those topics. You don't need to worry too much about it. I've read multiple essays, a number of essays that are there, and I've read them. And you'd be surprised, the ideas that are being there in the essays are the same. The only difference is the language that they use or their writing style that they have used to define those ideas. So ideas are the same, everybody have them. Don't give me this, I'm running out of ideas. It's not. It's basically you're scared to put the ideas down. You already have those ideas with you. You're scared. Why? Because you haven't got the habit of writing. We are in the habit of, whenever we do something, we do it perfect or we don't do it at all. There is no middle ground. We are that cruel to ourselves. But anyways, so when it comes to argumentative essay, there are 3 basic categories: agree, disagree, a descriptive or discursive essay, in which there is advantages, disadvantages, problem solution, cause effect, problem effect, right? There are differences into it. And the last one is a combination of or a hybrid type of an essay, in which there are 2 questions that are being asked. There's a combination of does both the ideas discuss about both the ideas and give your own opinion and so on and so forth. Again, these are argumentative essay. One thing you need to pay attention to, and it's very important, and that is an argument is always is always has to have two entities, otherwise it's not an argument. Even if it says to what extent do you agree, there has to have something against, even if you completely agree with something. Okay? I believe that will help you out. To understand the essay topic clearly. I'll talk about that in the essay topic, in the essay sessions when we are going to have it. Now moving towards the checking criteria for both the as task 1 and task 2. So task 2 has 75% marks and task 1 has 25% marks. So task 2 is heavier and task 1 is lighter, but then they're weighted and the band comes out of it. So both are important. They check for task response, and I have just given you a very good hint that in order for you to have an argument, you need to have two entities with you, otherwise there is no argument. It's just a plain description. That's a good hint to understand a task response. On the other hand, how should I put it? On the other hand, they'll go for coherence and cohesion. So do not go with this particular thing of, this thick vocabulary. How should I define cohesion in a very simplified way? Okay, so if you want to go to your kitchen and you're thirsty and you want to have a glass of water, which I desperately need right now, what steps are you going to do? First, you'll get up from your bed or from your sofa, take 5, 7, 8 steps, pick up the glass and pour the water in from the water cooler, sit down, drink it, put the glass back up and go back to your sofa or bed, right? How about if I just jump on this up? Pick up the glass, take 4, 5 steps, pour the glass, drink the water, pour the glass with water, place it there, and then go back to my bed, and then stand up. That's not cohesion. The previous example was cohesion. Everything was in order. A, then B, then C, then D, then E, then F, then so on and so forth. Now, cohesion means unity. How well organized your essay is, how well connected your essay is. Okay? Now, that's coherence, by the way. Cohesion is how well each sentence, let's say you remember the example of the paragraph, how well each sentence is connected to each other in such a way that each sentence complements each other in a packed manner rather than this. I'm talking about sun here, I'm talking about sand here, and I'm talking about Sally here. That does not make sense. If I'm talking about sun here, then I'm talking about Earth here, then I'm talking about the solar system here, and then I'm talking about the 8 or 9 planets which revolves around the sun, all connected. Now that's cohesion. In the next paragraph, I'm going to talk about, let's pick up Mercury, which is the hottest planet in the solar system because it's the closest to the sun. Again, that's coherence. Yes, my apologies. That's coherence because first I've talked about the solar system. Now I'm breaking down every planet into each paragraph. Make sense? This is what you need to pay attention to when you're writing your task 1 or task 2, whether it's academic or general, doesn't matter. Now this wraps up the whole, no, I have forgotten about lexical resources and grammar range and accuracy. People walk up to me and, students walk up to me and say, you know what, sir, I have very less vocabulary and my grammar is weak as well. And I'm like, yeah, there are certain levels of grammar and there are certain levels of vocabulary that you need to. First, again, it goes back to the point that, well, the lexical resource, we don't read and we don't write. How else are we going to improve our vocabulary? Make sense? When you read, your grammar structures automatically improves. When you read, your vocabulary automatically improves. This proves that the fact those who have done university, those who are studying in university, have got the university degree, those who are done, who are doing their O-level, preparing for it or whatsoever, they can read, they can relate to it because vocabulary plays an important role in their examination. Similarly, it plays an important role in your IELTS exam as well, whether you're reading, listening, or writing, and even speaking as well. So how to counter it? So how to use better vocabulary? Everyone has got a set of vocabulary that they bring along on the table when they speak, when they write, when they read, and whatever the mode that they use to express through a language. They have a set of vocabulary. Start from there. You don't need to cram 50 words or 100 words or 300 words. Oh, this is IELTS vocabulary. It's not like that. You will forget it easy. I'll give you a word today, you'll forget it tomorrow. And then you'll look into a dictionary. The best way to remember a vocabulary is to understand it from the context. That means understand the meaning understand the meaning of the word from the whole sentence rather than looking it up into a dictionary. You can look it up into a dictionary for relevance, but then once you open up a dictionary, there is another problem. One word will have several meanings. What are you going to do? You'll waste your time over there. So it's better if you just try to develop a habit of finding the contextual meaning. Still, you're confused, then you can look up in the dictionary. That's one way of developing the vocabulary. On the other hand, those who are doctors, those who are engineers, those who are studying BBA or they have done management courses, or those who are finance specialists or professionals or scientists or whatever, can use your vocabulary, the one which you have studied from university, whether you've done masters or bachelors or you're still doing MPhils or PhD or whatever. You can use that vocabulary and try to express it in your own words. You don't need to learn much words in order for you to transpire, in order for you to be very articulate in that manner. So with this said, now moving towards, I think I've said too much on writing, but that moving towards it's speaking. It's pretty plain and simple. I have been taking this particular lecture for about, I think, over 40 minutes. I've been consistently speaking. The fact that I'm able to do that is that my thought process is aligned. I know what to do, what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. And you're going to learn the same when it comes to preparation for your speaking test. Again, the 4 criteria will be marked on, that is task response, task relevancy, coherence and cohesion, lexical resources, and grammar arrangements. There are certain structures in a certain question that they will be checking you for, and that will be discussed in the class. It's not that much of a difference. The only thing which is bigger of a challenge is for you to speak for only 2 minutes. And that 2 minutes, I'll tell you, when you'll start practicing, that 2 minutes will look like 2 hours. And you'll say, you know what? Well, I've started speaking. I thought it's 2 minutes, but then you were short 10 seconds from a minute or closer to a minute. And then you build up from there. So there are certain techniques and structures which I share with my students in order for them to understand and practice the cue part, which is the part 2, which is the main part of the whole speaking, in which you need to speak a lot. Grammar part, it's basically when you're speaking, if you can correct yourself once or twice, if you made a mistake, that's completely fine. But overcorrection is overdoing it. And yes, in the part 1, you need to give them an exaggerated answer rather than just giving, what's your name? Oh, my name is Zeeshan. That does not make sense. So I'd probably add something more to it. So my name is Zeeshan. Everybody would be wondering, you know what? It's natural to perceive that either the father or the mother has given the kid's name, or the son's name. It was not the case with me. My grandpa gave it to me. And it means XYZ. It means noble, by the way. So that's good enough. That's good enough for an answer, a sufficient answer, so that you know that you are telling the examiner that you're well prepared. And one tip, that's a tip. You're going to speak in such a way that the examiner is beginner level English student. So you need to explain everything to him. In speaking, if you come up with that mindset, you'll be speaking a lot. But if you're thinking the examiner is going to judge you, you will not even speak. You'll increase your breath, your heartbeat will be faster, you'll have goosebumps, you'll be sweating, and you'll not do good in the exam anyways. Anyways, for now, I'd like to take some questions before I move to conclusion. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer. If anyone has an answer, has a question, I'd be more than happy to answer it. Well, I guess there aren't any questions that I was waiting for everyone to give the answers to. I hope you have taken a lot from this particular session, live session. And if you still have any questions, you can contact via Valeem. It's a great platform, and people do get a lot of benefit out of it, students especially. With this, I conclude this particular live session and over to the host of that particular meeting. Thank you very much for your time and patience. I'll see you in the class.